Yeah, I know. I'm a week late with this review. I was supposed to see it last week, but a couple weeks ago actually, but I didn't feel very well. So here it is, folks. I saw The Nun, and The Nun did not suck. Honestly, I didn't think this movie sucked at all, but it did have problems, and I guess that my job is to tell you whether or not you should spend your money on this movie, actually going to the movie theater and seeing it. This is the newest film in James Wan's Conjuring Universe, but it was directed by Corin Hardy, who's new to the Conjuring Universe, I guess, franchise. But Corin Hardy was known for the movie The Hollow, which got a lot of love a few years ago. Now The Nun is Corin Hardy's second film. The movie, essentially the plot of the film, is about what appears to be a suicide at a Romanian abbey, and this suicide is what springs to action a priest and a nun who go investigate what could have happened. And obviously there's supernatural implications here, and then as they show up to the abbey, things start getting weirder and weirder, and that's how it is. All the movies kind of have that kind of formula. That's what happens here. Now, I've enjoyed essentially all of the Conjuring movies. The first Annabelle was a little bit mid, to borrow from a friend of mine. And I heard other people say that this movie is also mid, that it's about as good as Annabelle. I think it's a little bit better, but it does have its problems. The movie has a lot of really creative scares. Only a couple of jump scares, really, 3 or 4, I would say. But it does have some pretty creative scares and pretty creative situations. The problem is, and it's not really a problem unless you're ignorant of the situation, is this Conjuring Universe, the first film, was built on realism because supposedly these events actually happen according to the diary of Ed and Lorraine Warren. Now, Ed and Lorraine Warren, a lot of people believe are con artists, and that all that stuff is just made up, and that none of that ever happened because there's no footage, virtually no footage. There's a couple clips out there, but there's almost nothing they actually capture that anybody's ever seen. That's a topic for another video. But the first Conjuring movie, like I said, was based on an actual case study. Whether or not the case study happened the way they said is irrelevant. The second Conjuring movie, again, took an inspiration from the actual Enfield poltergeist, but added a whole bunch of stuff, including the nun, which is what this movie's about. And then the Annabelle prequels were kind of like, they weren't the true story of Annabelle from Ed and Lorraine Warren. They were just the story that they came up with for the movies. And the point I'm trying to make is this. The first film is grounded in reality. The sequels get more and more and more abstract to where it's almost impossible to believe. This movie has things that happen that are, in this movie, I think is way beyond the suspension of disbelief. Now, obviously, when it comes to this kind of movie, I've already accepted that that's where the franchise is going. This is not going to be based on a true story franchise. We know that by now. But still, as I'm watching the movie, this ghost, Valak, this demon, has the ability to rematerialize and dematerialize the ground, and also can come into the physical realm and kill you straight up physically. Now, obviously, as the film progresses, you're noticing that they tell you that Valak is getting stronger and stronger, the nun. They don't actually name him Valak until later, but if you saw Conjuring 2, you know that, the whole story there. But I felt like even early in the film, there's a scene where a guy goes through the ground, literally through the earth into a coffin and gets trapped underground. Like his body dematerialized and rematerialized in the ground. And also, as I'm watching the movie, I'm like, why doesn't the nun just kill them already? If you have these abilities to literally change matter. Because remember, the thing about ghost movies is that the ghosts always have a limitation on their power. They even explain that in the movie Ghost, even though it doesn't tie into these movies. But, the Patrick Swayze one. But with this film, things happen that are just so over the top. And then you find out there's a couple twists near the end. You find out a couple of twists here and there that are interesting. And to be honest, the movie kept me entertained. I mean, yeah, it's a very entertaining movie. It shouldn't be taken that seriously, but it didn't suck. Now, if you're asking me, well, should I go out and see it? Honestly, I would probably say wait for Redbox. I'm just being real with you on this one. I would say wait for Redbox because it's a good movie, but it's also one that kind of screams like Netflix. You know what I mean? That's kind of That's what I was thinking, you know what I mean? But I will tell you this, the last scene in the film, the way that it tied in to the first Conjuring was brilliant. Like, it hit me like a hook to the mouth. Like, I was like, whoa, like, because one thing I was wondering is, are they going to explain why, are they going to explain why the nun is going after the Warrens in Conjuring 2? And they really didn't explain it, even though they sort of did, kind of. I'm not going to spoil it, but they kind of sort of did. So I liked it though. I liked the movie. I didn't love it, but there was at no point in the film was I bored, and that's really what it comes down to. Was I bored? And I wasn't. Obviously, it's one of the weaker entries. I would say Conjuring 1 and 2 and Annabelle Creation are the really good ones. The other ones are just whatever. Annabelle 1, this one. They do kind of fall together in a way, but I actually like the Nun more. I did like the Nun more. I wish there was more backstory of Valak. They didn't give you a lot, but I can tell you that Valak, there is... I'm not going to get into the occult stuff, but the name is an occult name. Like, there is, like, a whole thing behind Valak. So they are taking inspiration from actual occult, like, demonic entities for these movies, but only the first one's actually, like, a first 1.5 is an actual, like, thing. But anyways, the characters I thought were fine. My boy Damian Bashir is in this movie. He played Fidel Castro and Che. He's good. Taissa Farmiga, who's her sister, played Lorraine. She was very, very not very convincing. Some scenes she was good. Other scenes she was not very convincing. And then we have Maurice Frenchy Theroult, who was played by Jonas Bloquet, and it was pretty cool because, I don't want to spoil it, but when you find out the throwback to the first Conjuring, you're like, hey, oh wait, is that the same guy? And then you realize that it's really not the same guy, but it's still cool because, they made it look like it was all. You'll see. Anyways, I'm rambling too much. I'm on medicine right now. So, good movie. Did not suck. Good scares. Fun backstory, but not enough of it. I would give it 3 out of... I usually don't rate movies, but I would probably give it 3 out of 5. I say Redbox it. That's my opinion. Or Netflix. Take your pick.